one thing that we're exploring. And then the other is we're starting to do some work that we had done previously, just to explore group logins for project pages, managing project pages. Right now, only one person can use a project page at a time. And we want to give people the ability to share access to project pages and credit classes. And so that's something that we're kind of dusting off our designs for, and we'll be actively reaching out to folks in the coming weeks in months to ask for your input on the features we're building. And then the last thing is developing the product roadmap for 2025. This is super exciting because it's the end of the year and we've learned a lot. Climate Week was really rich. COP was really rich, and we learned a lot. We met with a lot of new people. We got a lot of input for feature requests. Some of us went on trips and did deep dives with some of our users. And so we're kind of working on metabolizing all of those learnings into our 2025 roadmap. Yeah, so that's all I have. Any questions before because I'm about to leave. So if there's any product specific questions, happy to answer those.
Any questions for Sam? Otherwise, we'll keep moving.
Well,
awesome. Thanks, Sam. Safe travels. Okay, folks, here's our calendar for the rest of the calendar year as far as our meetings. So please take note. I don't think there's any surprises here. We do have our Regenerati News Hour next week. Our next Eco Credit Builder Lab is also next week before the Thanksgiving holiday for those or Indigenous Peoples Day here in the United States. And then we'll move into December to close out with a couple more community calls. Great. Network governance. Oops, pardon me. Network governance upgrade. So for those who follow, again, publicly governed ecological ledger, one of our big tasks as a community is to review and evaluate and approve or decline upgrades to our ledger and to a variety of other activities within Regen Network more broadly. And for this particular kind of period of time between our last community calls, we passed two different upgrades or added two different credit types, one being a marine biodiversity credit sponsored by Sea Trees, which again, a little gobbledygook on Prop 47 here and what you're seeing. But essentially this added the biodiversity block, as we're calling it now, in more in communications from Sea Trees, the marine biodiversity credit, as well as the ERA's upgraded credit, the umbrella species stewardship credit type. So those were both passed overwhelmingly, which was nice, and we had great turnout for both 75 and 79% respectively. So those of you who are token holders and voted, thank you so much. And just as a reminder, for just best practices, if you don't vote, but you stake with a validator and they vote, their vote, your token weighted voting power is assigned to your validator when they vote, and you don't. If you vote, then it assigns to whatever you do. So for whatever that's worth, that's how Regen governance works. I don't expect to see any more governance proposals before the end of the year. At least I haven't heard anything moving. Welcome if people have different suggestions around that. But otherwise, we're up to 48 proposals since mainnet launch. I expect next year will probably be a pretty busy governance year as well. Any other comments or thoughts from anyone on the call regarding governance? Cool. Keep moving. Events recap. So we had Climate Week and COP. I'm going to mostly focus on COP as Climate Week's a little bit in the rearview mirror. COP, it's hard to, in a short period of time, communicate, I think, all that happened at COP. For those of you who aren't with Regen Network Development, we had an objective that really focused on us driving toward COP, both in the way that we showed up with partners and in our product development, to have COP as a milestone where people, and this include institutions and our partners and other actors in the space, really saw Regen Network infrastructure as helping define and elevate the emergence of nature markets. And this included, specifically naming Fundación Pachamama and Tarazos and some of our other friends who we were hoping were going to be so delighted by how we have interacted with them over the course of the year that they would show up at COP and really advocate and be promoting Regen Network more broadly, Regen Ledger, and our technology as core infrastructure for scaling nature markets. And I'd say, I think there was relatively broad agreement for those of us who were at that event that we succeeded. It was quite exciting. We had a number of our partners, including ERA, Terrazos, Sea Trees, and Fundación Pachamama, all who showed up, all who communicated about the importance of Regen Network as a critical partner for their own activities in the world, in their regenerative activities, and really put, I think, in a lot of ways, Regen on a new level that we had not reached until COP. And so I think, credit to really everyone here on the call and everyone in the network who's worked very hard to deliver the products and to, as a community, help build the technology, help build the momentum and the community around Regen Network. It was quite exciting. So this is just a smattering of the photos. Probably just one highlight to point out is we did have our own event on October 28th. It was sold out. As that goes, it was a 3-story venue. We essentially filled it for almost an entire day, all where our partners were talking about their projects they were building on Regen Network and using Regen Registry and Regen technology. So, and it ended, of course, very Kali style, into copious amounts of dancing and revelry and community building as we closed out the night. I think we shut it down at something like 2 a.m. So that was quite fun, an enjoyable time. I think it was quite a success. And now we're really starting to peer into next year, looking very specifically at the Oceans Conference that's in June. I think it's in June. And then we're looking into COP 30, which is in Belém, Brazil, where our probably next, and also Climate Week, which between those three will probably be probably the 3 major kind of activations that we are thinking about next year. So if anyone else has reflections from the community here who attended or have questions, please feel free to ask. Anyone? Okay. Keep moving. Regen Foundation. Will, do you want to share here?
Sure, yeah. And I think there's a few slides here. So the first is there's a whole crew of folks on the Atlantic crossing. I'm not sure if that's something people have been hearing about. But Austin's there, as is Amanda Ravenhill, our board director at the foundation, and others. So there should be more to report after that trip. We're just putting together our actually a little series of end of year newsletters. So if you'd like to receive that, send us a note and we'll add you to the list. And the Gitcoin round 22 wrapped up a week ago. There were a handful of regen related rounds going on. There was a Regen Citizens one. There was a Ma Earth Regenerators one. And then there was this BioFi Pathfinders round. And so Regen Foundation was a co-sponsor of that. We put in 5K and a total of this 55K matching pool. And there were 14 projects from around the world that were recipients there. So that's just wrapping up, and funds are going to be distributed on, sounds like tomorrow. Yeah, you go to the next one. I personally have been involved in a lot more of this BioFi work. There have been a whole series of both in-person and online gatherings for the Northeast bioregional work. There was this gathering at Sirius Eco Village in Western Mass, right outside of Amherst. That's this photo here. And there have been kind of a series of these BioFi community calls, and the Forest of the Northeast presented on the last one of those. If you get the deck later, this link goes to a recording of that if anyone wants to follow up.
Oops, is there another one? Is there another slide, Will? Did I miss it?
There might, that's fine. Yeah, no, you can go on to those things, and then I guess we'll come back to tokenomics, unless you want to go to token economics now, and I talk a little bit about that. And
Sure. Why don't we go to token economics?
so, oh, okay. Max is over in Thailand for a while right now, as are a whole bunch of both blockchain and non-blockchain folks. There's been a series of great events over there. Anyway, so I'm on the call instead today. There's a third quarter report that's out. There's this ambassadors program that Julio, who's actually on the call here today, has been working on. There's been a lot of work happening with Eco Token, which is also already a community staking DAO, but we've kind of gotten into some deeper relationships there on cross-chain liquidity, and still working on getting Cosmosm out. It seems like we're getting close. I was just hearing from Dave on that today. And then there's this network relationship graph that Max has been working on, and if you want to join those calls, they happen every Tuesday at this moment, 11 a.m. Eastern. So you can join there.
Great. Thank you, Will. Any questions for Will?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just a quick question. How was the Gitcoin thing in terms of like general perception of the process? It went good, it seems to understand, but if you have any, I don't know, 1 minute of comments more, I would be curious.
Yeah, I was actually just on an internal retro call for the organizers of the BioFi round yesterday. And then I've also been hearing from some of the round participants. I mean, I guess there's so much that we could say about it. One emerging need is that the whole Gitcoin architecture was designed for a pseudonymous Sybil-resistant environment of the Ethereum space, and for projects that for example, this BioFi round that was just run, which even had this via prize PayPal fiat way to contribute. So essentially, most donors and all projects were publicly disclosed, the projects, where they are, all the people involved. So because of that, the kind of default algorithms that Gitcoin uses to minimize, to maximize Sybil resistance and things like that aren't really appropriate, and actually sow a little bit of distrust in the community, in that it is relatively obscure to determine what any individual donation will result in regards to matching funds and things like that, and Gitcoin has intentionally designed things that way. So there has been some discussion of, do we essentially need to like fork the Gitcoin matching algorithm for projects in instances where everyone's identities are public, and transparency in the matching process is what will lead to more trust, as opposed to obscuring the matching process so it can't be gamed. So I think that that's one takeaway that's specific to endeavors where everyone's identities are disclosed. And then I think the other thing that everybody's saying is, we just need, like, if we're going to be running these rounds, people shouldn't be getting $1,000 to $5,000. They should be getting 50,000 or 100,000, or enough to actually run a substantial project out of. So certainly there's a range of folks who are looking to fundraise larger matching pools. So how can we get the matching pools up to $1 million or 5 million, instead of even the Ma Earth round, which had quite a significant matching pool? It was 200K split across 30 projects. So I would say those are some of the kind of reflections that are coming up so far.
I'd love to just point out that as early as 2019, we had CosmWasm code for doing quadratic matching, and we're running experiments with OpenTeam, and that those experiments have led to conversations with like even the USDA using quadratic matching and funding. And that there is a CosmWasm based, a pretty advanced, like much more advanced than we built when it was just hacked together, quadratic matching algorithm that's used by Dora hacks, and is really simple to use within the Cosmos ecosystem that we could leverage pretty quickly and easily. As well as, you know, although this has been hard to materialize just because of, you know, I think cultural elements mostly, but not, but I think there's good enough vibes to make it happen, as well as the fact that we could deploy Gitcoin, the Solidity-based Ethereum virtual machine smart contracting framework on Regen Ledger with pretty minimal effort if that was desired. So there's multiple ways that we could, you know, I mean, my big critique of the Gitcoin, the way that the Gitcoin rounds work is that unfortunately, mostly the attention is getting people to whatever layer two they're trying to pump at the moment. And so a lot of time goes into, if you're trying to match funding, like orienting around, and it would be really nice to just have it natively within our community so that people, project developers, funders, etc., just have an easy time to just, you know, like donate and build momentum. I think to the degree to which this is happening out on someone else's world, there's always just like this weird value extraction process is taking place. And the biggest value that's being extracted is our attention and like the time of attention that goes into this. So, you know, I think if we could figure out, you know, number one, a way of, you know, internalizing some of the great things about sort of fundraising rounds and building momentum and doing matching pools and all the rest of that, number one, so that it's easy and usable. And number two, if we could start to shift the dynamics and culture so that it's less of a shill fest and less about who can get the most attention, and a little bit more linking this to like the radical positive things that are happening on the ground through the data module and other things, we'd be in really great shape. So
yeah, if you have any links, Gregory, for that, I'd be happy to pass them along to the BioFi team, like the Dora hacks and other things like that.
sure.
Awesome. Thanks for the share. Good convo. Moving over to sales and biz development. So just a couple things to announce here. If you haven't seen it, you can go to our LinkedIn, our Twitter. Tarasos and Regen Network just launched a white paper around the use of DLT to scale nature markets. And this kind of signals also what Sam discussed earlier about a Tarasos marketplace powered by Regen Ledger, which is something we're quite excited about as a business use case for the public infrastructure and for the app and other things that we built over time. We're finding demand and interest in institutional partners like Tarasos, who are major players in the LATAM nature markets and compliance markets, being interested in deploying our software in their own community and brand environment. So look forward to that. But this white paper really digs deep into why DLT and why Regen in particular, Regen DLT version of DLT is important for scaling nature markets. So for those of you who have networks or you're interested, dig in yourself, but certainly feel free to spread this around. This is a pretty significant partnership announcement, and the white paper itself should anchor a number of the conversations around this next growth and evolution of nature markets, and how do we build that with trust, transparency, auditability, traceability, et cetera. So, and then also at COP, C-Trees announced the launch of their biodiversity blocks on Regen Network. So there's a great article in Surfer Magazine, the online version, but this is around mangroves, corals, and seagrass. Restoration of these things, working with local communities. And so as I stated in the article, this particular one was $3 a credit for a mangrove tree monitored for 10 years. So another exciting announcement, C-Trees has been a very strong partner of Regen Network. They get it completely top to bottom why Regen is so important, and our partnership continues to grow and develop. We will likely be doing a December or January kickoff of a digital kickoff of biodiversity blocks on Regen. So stay tuned for that. Just similar to what we did with that, also is really looking just to create a space where people can come in, ask questions to the C-Trees team, and how they came up with this idea and how they plan on scaling this and verifying regeneration. So I'll keep moving forward here. Regen registry updates. Tika and Becca, do you want to pick up on this stuff? I assume this would be Tika to start with on the website.
Yeah, sure. We got the website launched right at COP. So please head over there and check it out. It's great. We've got a new interface to see all of our protocols and understand how to work with us and how our team can support you, as well as how the larger Regen community can support you. So definitely worth a visit to that, and always love feedback as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, huge shout to Erica, our engineering team, or our development team, and Tika, who really shepherded the website development. It's a really major milestone for people who are wondering what is Regen Registry. So again, you can go to regen.network for kind of a little bit broader view and focus on the marketplace. But now the registry website gives you a better understanding of how to originate ecological assets in our ecosystem. So nice job, Tika. Great. Additional registry updates.
Yeah, so AEI, we've been working with, that's Applied Ecological Institute, and their method is through expert review. They are doing a little bit of work on it as they want to be more ICROA certified. So some very small changes that they're working on, and then we'll list that for public comment. ERA is on chain, went through public comment, so we're really excited about that. They had a great presence at COP as well. Hannah spoke at a number of events, and a lot of enthusiasm for their protocol. And then, yeah, Dave kind of covered a little bit of C-Trees, but we have several reviewers because C-Trees is a general marine ecosystem restoration protocol, but then it has specific units within that for kelp and coral and mangroves at the moment. Seagrass will be coming. So lots of reviewers on that one, and we're almost through the expert review and hope to have that on public comment for you all to take a look at soon.
Is this the same?
Yeah.
Tika or Becky, you want to take this one?
I think Becca, do you want to do this one?
Sure. And then I have the that community slide for you, Tika. Yeah, we've got, aside from right alongside these new methodologies coming on, we've got these projects that are coming on, in lockstep. So for 4 protocols right now, we've got projects that are either they've gone through the review process and are registered, or are about to go through that process. So a project that is a soil organic carbon project in the UK, Broomborough Estate, that has gone through project registration and review. And then the 3 that are upcoming, a project from Colshan Carbon Trust, so it's a biochar project, and that's up in the northwestern United States. Then we've got, Tika mentioned Era Brazil, their methodology, and so their project is coming on to be registered here soon. And same for another project from Terrazos. So we already have El Globo on, and Agua Dulce is coming right behind. So lots coming hopefully by the end of the year.
Great. Thanks for all the work to the registry team. Really nice to see the pipeline filling up.
I can take this one. I think the two others would probably be better coming from Tika, even though, yeah, so some of the deeper work, aside from all this work that we're doing actively with partners, what we've been working on internally, I think the registry website is a big piece of this work too, is really looking at process, deeper needs that kind of allow things to flow and move. So for the project registration process, instead of that being kind of a laborious process with lots of back and forths, we're trying to create these checklists that enable that to be more streamlined and straightforward, to the point where someone could look at that who was even just reviewing the project outside of the team, that they could kind of see, okay, this is what's required and this is what's been reviewed. The related piece to that is that we're really actively exploring using the data stream functionality for project registration submissions, so that when you get to the point where you're ready to submit project documentation, instead of that being shared over email, being able to make a data post and to what privacy settings you want. And then that could include your monitoring reports, your project plan. So we're going through a bit of a discovery process with that. It would be a really exciting way to add that piece in the process to the larger chronology of work that goes on for a project. Yeah. And then the last is going through with our handbook and our program guide. These are like the core documents, for a lot of these projects, and wanting to get the language really updated in all of those documents. So everything's really talking to each other consistently and creating clarity and knowledge for everyone who's trying to work with us.
Tika, you want to share about the Santa Maria visit?
Sure. Yeah, we met at the Regen Gardens. We had a lot of folks from the Santa Marta area, the northern coast of Colombia, really dynamic area, the Caribbean Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, to 19,000 foot peaks within about 26 miles. So a lot of diversity of ecosystem there. And there's folks working on regenerative agroforestry projects using coffee as a product as well from those forests. And so yeah, spent a lot of time there, a couple of days visiting a few projects there, and some nice a project that also incorporates some nice biocultural elements, working with indigenous cultures in that area as well. And then Sam's not here, but he's been in Ecuador, working with several of our projects there, Charamensa, Secopai, and Macacopina. I'm never sure I'm saying that correctly. Sorry, guys. And then Giselle, I think right now is presenting, or no, so she's presenting somewhere now, and then she's also got this additional on the 24th at a LATAM conference. But she's also doing a presentation today. So she's busy working with lots of interests that we had already, and then new interest that was brewing from COP and just from the great work our team's been doing over the last year.
Great, thank you. And that takes us to the end of this community call. Thank you everyone for covering quite a bit of ground. Sorry for the technical glitch at the beginning, but I feel like we got everything covered. So if there's any just general questions from our community that you want to check in on, please feel free right now. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Just a quick note. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't share the Region Fundraiser Ambassador Program link today because we are changing some things with Max, but I'm waiting for him to come back after DevCon. So yeah, I will share when we have a new agreement on the new plan. Because I think now it's possible that it will change a while. So I don't want to make people to waste time on it.
Great. Thank you for the update there. Yes, Howard, I'll go ahead and share the link to the slides with you as well. And thanks for coming, Howard. All right. Well, team, thank you. Everyone have a nice holiday for those in the States, in United States and beyond. Enjoy the fall weather for those in the northern, western parts of the world. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.